project is a collaboration between the local community organization, Brooklyn Rescue Mission, the Department of Parks, and the Department of Agriculture and Markets.
The project was to get a farmers market started in Bed-Stuy community affiliated with the Brooklyn Rescue Mission.
Interesting thing about the farmers market is reaching out to people who are living in the community and are still in need of access to fresh produce, but may not be eligible or even interested in food programs or emergency food programs. But because the neighborhood is a food desert, there aren't many produce vendors. There's only one supermarket, and most of the neighborhood stores are local bodegas, and they're just leaving the community to do their shopping. So it has been our vision to bring fresh produce into the community so everyone can have access, and people can gain control of what is offered to them in their community as it concerns what they eat. We should have the ability to and the right to have fresh produce that's not shipped in from hundreds of miles away into a community that just doesn't have any produce, doesn't have any supermarkets, doesn't even really have a lot of places where you can buy decent canned goods or other food. So it's really a food desert, and it really is in need of a lot of assistance.
At the mission, we have different programming. We have a food pantry that serves over 4,000. We have a youth entrepreneurial and educational component. We have a senior advocacy component, and we have a Bed-Stuy farm. So all these things work in collaboration to make people healthier and give them access to fresh food.
To get the farmers market up and running, it's been an 8-month project for the Brooklyn Rescue Mission. It actually, in the scheme of projects, went quite quickly, and our role at the Department of Agriculture was to make a case that this farmers market is not a revenue-generating vendor on parkland, but instead a community benefit, providing access to fresh fruits and vegetables to folks living in the community in Bed-Stuy who had very limited options for fresh fruits and vegetables.
And one of the problems the Rescue Mission really had with this garden is that the Department of Parks was requiring 2 separate permits for their farmers market operation. One was a permit from our revenue office, and another one was a more local permit. And we saw really a need to streamline this entire process. So we're no longer requiring a revenue department permit. We're only requiring a permit from the borough office. And this will facilitate their existence as a farmers market. And also there are 17 other groups in the city that will be able to take advantage of this new policy. I think the big thing was to cut the red tape, and I have to say again, that never would have happened without help from the State Department of Agriculture. And quite frankly, the persistence of this organization that really pushed on our paradigm of what was a farmer's market and what wasn't. And what we've started to do is really take a look at farmers market, particularly those that are in community development grant block eligible areas, as services to the community and not just businesses. And I think that's where the real paradigm shift is. This is about getting local fresh produce, fruit and vegetables to the communities most in need.
I believe that a community needs to have say in what's in the community. And since we operate an emergency food program with people coming from the community, we service over 4,000 people a month. We have a lot of access to ask questions. And we're constantly conducting surveys to what people eat and why do they eat the way they eat and what would they like to see in the community. And the response was that they would like to have fresh produce. They would like to have more nutritional programs such as cooking demonstrations and opportunities to question and learn from community chefs, from nutritionists and dietitians, and they would like to change because they have to change how they eat. And the neighborhood just doesn't offer the selection to make it easier. You have to go outside of the neighborhood to buy these things. So my advice would be to find out what the community is willing to do and how they're willing to support it. Because once you know you have the support of your community, you can then begin to go knocking on doors of local elected officials and community boards and business owners in the district, because these are all the things that they required of us. They required that we prove that we have the community support, and that's what we had to go around and about doing.
I believe that it took a tremendous amount of energy for the governmental agencies to help a community-based organization provide fresh food. And I think that that's something that other communities can look at. How can they partner? Because there's a statement that if you can keep them from getting sick, if you can prevent them from getting sick, you have less health costs, you have less hospitalization, and you have less medical costs for each one of those communities. You have more revenue that you can do something else with.
I mean, there were two problems being solved here, or two things being attacked at once. Just starting a farmer's market at all is a really complex endeavor. Accessing the land and working on solving a problem with park status for those farmers markets was a whole separate thing. And the rescue mission had to commit to assuming they were going to get this land and it was going to work, and they had to work on all the partnerships and move on the farmers market to be able to make a case, to bring in support from legislators, to get the agencies working on this. So they made a big commitment and took a big risk to and we were all working in the background at the agency level at New York State Department of Agriculture and in parks, but the risk all was here in terms of the investment in all the outreach and the community work, and even thinking about which farmers ahead of time. And I think that's something people need to recognize, that it's it's a risk with a great reward. But
I think one of the things that's most exciting for us about this is the rescue mission was really providing the impetus for this program. We're to be able to replicate this at 17 other gardens. So we've now made some real widespread sweeping policy change on how we approach farmers markets in the city. And I think that's extremely important here. So your 8 months of work and dedication to this is really going to have a citywide benefit, and that's terrific.
Our food program is an emergency food program, so a lot of the food we have is donated. And the foods that we do grow ourselves, I don't know if they're affected so much by the food prices going up, because we're in control of what we grow. We're in control of how much lettuce seeds we actually plant into the ground and how much of a crop we harvest. So I think that it's a part of the solution to some of the problems with the food prices, is to get more people growing their own food, and you don't have to pay the costs associated with shipping, and you don't also have the scares of what kind of poisons or whatever can be in the food, because you know who grew it, you know where the water came from, you know where the sun came from, you know what fertilizers you put in it. And I believe that urban farming is a great solution, and farmers markets are a great solution, because you have the names of the farmers. You know who grows the food, and you know when you eat it, it's a big difference in the taste and the nutritional value. So I think that our program is not only being challenged only because of the amounts of people that we find at our door, but it's being heralded because I think that we are right on time. I wouldn't say that we were ahead of our time, but I think our time has arrived.